Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System. Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights. Welcome back to Bayou Time. I'm Martin Falls. As you saw on Facebook and YouTube, we aired the entire CPRA meeting that took place at the Civic Center. Now we're going to break it down into more tangible segments so that you can pick and choose what you watch in your area. The first segment we're going to air tonight is Mr. Reggie Dupre's report of here in our immediate area of the Terrebonne Parish area. So now without further ado, let's listen in as Reggie tells us what's taking place with coastal protection here in our area.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I came here under the pretext of giving my last Morganza to the Gulf presentation before the person replacing me will be named Monday, and I want to introduce her. Angela Hidalgo has been my assistant for the last 15 years. She was hired by Z 22 years ago when he was executive director of Terrebonne Levee District. So I will be making that recommendation, and she will be taking my place. And I do have some presentation to make, but first I want to, this is about Morganza to the Gulf now. This is not about me, it's about we. It's been a big, big effort led by my board president, Tony Alfred, very, very passionate Italian Cajun who does not know the meaning of the word no. And we give him a slight hint that maybe if we do X, Y, Z, he said, that means a yes. So we're going to do it. So, Colonel, please pass on to Colonel Jones. Effective Monday, cease and desist orders need to be addressed to Angela Hidalgo, not Reggie Dupre. Because I think he's coming Monday to give me the award for the Breaking Windows Award for the most cease and desist orders. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I cleaned out my office in the last few days, there's two items I want to give back to CPRA. So in 2009, in my final days of the Senate, then Chairman Garrett Graves presented me the Founders Award for CPRA. And that's what Angela's holding. Then my colleagues on the Senate Natural Resources Committee started questioning me, what's the most important bill that I passed in my 14 years in the legislature? And everybody thought it was CPRA. I said, no. I said, CPRA is very, very important. It's a very close second. However, I have to believe a recurring funding source to restore the coast and build these projects is actually more important than the agency that's going to implement the projects. So my colleagues on the Natural Resources Committee presented me with a certified framed copy of Act 69 of the 2005 First Extraordinary Session, which is the constitutional amendment which dedicated 100% of all offshore oil and gas revenues to coastal restoration, coastal protection, and infrastructure needs directly related to coastal wetland losses. That constitutional amendment was passed by 82% of the voters of the state of Louisiana, the highest of any of the 200 or so amendments presented in this state. And it passed in all 64, is that 64 parishes? 64 parishes. Every one of them passed it. And so I think that this, and as a result of us putting this constitutional lockbox around this funding, is when President George W. Bush gave his full support of Go Mesa, and a month later, Congress passed Go Mesa and it became the law of the land. And this is our main recurring funding source. So Glenn, we want to present to CPRA. I'm giving back the Founders Award so you can put it somewhere in Baton Rouge, and the Go Mesa legislation passed by the legislature, which was both CPRA and this was, I think, a unanimous vote of the legislature back then. So I want to thank y'all very much, and And
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Dupre. Decided to hang this up at CPRA.
And let me just add that this constitutional amendment is 1.0. 2.0 passed the legislature this year. Representative Jill Ogeron passed another amendment amending this constitutional amendment, which will add renewable energy to the mix for Go Mesa. So that will be before the voters this November. And so please pass the word to get the vote out on that. It's very, very important as we move into renewable energy to keep this program going. So who's gonna? So now as to Morganza to the Gulf. Of course, that's our map. It's a 98-mile system that was authorized, went to Congress about 3 or 4 times. It last in 2014 from Gibson, Louisiana to Lockport. 70 of the 98 miles is in Terrebonne Parish, and the other 28 is in Lafourche Parish, expanding 2 parishes and 3 levee districts, all 3 of us at the table, besides Terrebonne Levee District, North Lafourche and South Lafourche, which they will be given part of this presentation. So some of our in-house mitigation projects, you know, we always prefer what regulatory, what the Corps calls PRMs, permittee responsible mitigation. Why? Because we can build projects like this, wetland terracing or marsh creation on the flood side of our levees. It protects infrastructure and it fulfills the requirements necessary with mitigation. So all of this, what you've seen, was built with our own marsh buggy excavators and public employees and public equipment. This is some more. This is in Lafourche Parish on Reach K. More recently, repairs going on after some damages from prior storms.
We'll be back with more on this report. Don't go away. Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough. We continue hearing from Reggie Dupre, the executive director, I should say, former executive director of the Terrebonne Levee District, who's gone into retirement, but he couldn't get done without a few more reports, so let's listen in.
This is what shows the most why Morganza to the Gulf ought to be self-mitigating. The top picture and the bottom picture is 9 years apart. It was the same picture. Top picture was taken in 07 in the Pointe-aux-Chenes Wildlife Management Area. You can see the white PVC pipes, which marks pipelines. Well, the bottom picture, the only difference is that the Morganza alignment in that area was built, the environmental structures were operational, and no dredging, no sediment was put in here. This is only changing the salinity back to what it used to be historically, and you can see the effects here. Last night I was on HTV, and we actually compared Google Earth of the Pointe-aux-Chenes Wildlife Area from 2006 to 2023. You're going to see several hundred new acres of wetland vegetation has been created, same way this has, with just changing the salinity regime and on the inside of the levees. So our biggest project is the Houma Navigational Canal Lock Complex. That's always been a lock complex in every version of Morganza dating back to the 1990s, from the original recon report and the feasibility report. After the BP oil spill, CPRA came up with, at the urging of now Chairman Gordon Dove, who was the Natural Resource Chairman 12 years ago, that we fund the Houma Navigation Canal Lock Complex through Restore Act dollars. We have built phase 1, and this first picture represents what was done with phase one for $11.5 million. We created about 143 acres of beneficial use marsh creation with the dredging necessary in phase one and the operations area preload. So this was completed several months ago, and we've since then gone to bid on phase two, which has now been awarded. So phase two has been awarded for $324 million. It's a 1,400-day contract, which will be complete in 2028. This is an artist rendition of what the lock will look like. The barge floodgate right here is the existing HNC Bubba Dove floodgate that Terrebonne Levee District with help from the state built in 2013. So we're utilizing the same barge floodgate that was put in 11 years ago and adding a lock complex. If you add phase one and phase two, and then phase three will be deferred for a few years, it will be the retrofitting of the barge floodgate in the adjacent flood walls to a plus 23.5, which will be about $85 to $90 million. So you have, this project is well over $400 million and underway. In 4 years from now, this will be the game changer for both environmental purposes and for navigation, seeking safe harbor for tropical events. Flood control projects we've recently done. This is the Bayou Petit Caillou, or better known as a cocodrie floodgate. We have a road on the side of it, road gate right here, floodgate about 140 feet wide. The total, now we recently learned some lessons from Ida. Hurricane Ida made landfall near Port Fourchon and straddled the parish line. The middle of the eye was about 2 or 3 miles east of Pontiac on the parish line. We had 140 to 150 mile an hour north winds. We had what we learned, a new challenge was called the reverse head. At this floodgate for Ida, we had water on the inside stacked up from Lake Boudreaux at 10 feet above sea level, and on the flood side, which is the bottom of the picture, it was -4. So you had a 14-foot head difference, reverse head difference, against this flood control structure on the side where it wasn't meant to protect. We did not have a structural failure of this one. We did at the HNC Bubba Dove. There's 4 flow-through pipes on this barge, which I sincerely believe helped and why it did not fail. You didn't have a structural failure. So FEMA approved a hazardous mitigation project in order to address these reverse head conditions. You can see over here, we put in gates on the flood wall and on the road gate so that if we do have a reverse head in the future, water will get out. So the flood waters can't get back in, but if it gets higher on the inside and out, it will escape. We also have another FEMA project for 2 more floodgates at Placid and Bush Canal, which is the next ones. So you have these, this is an artist rendition. You can see we'll be putting gates on the flood wall at Bush Canal. No, this is Placid, and then this is Bush Canal. Those 3 projects combined, the hydraulic model shows reduces the reverse head in half. You will have 5 feet instead of 10. That means you will not have offshore shrimp boats on top of our levee. You won't have tombs from cemeteries on our levees. So this 5 feet we can handle is a lot more manageable than 10 feet of reverse head situation. This slide was put in. We just finished the 10-year maintenance cycle for the Bayou Grand Caillou floodgate. Bids came in at $4 million. We had to do some creative engineering to bring the bids down closer to budget, because Angela told us we didn't have the $4 million, but she can come up with a little over $2 million. So these barge floodgates have to be dry docked every 10 years and sandblasted and painted. So and some mechanical improvements done. We just got it back in service. This was built in 2013, so we just did the 10-year cycle, and about 2 weeks ago it was put back in service.
We'll be right back. More of Reggie Dupre. Don't go away. Today's social media segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs. CIS, Cardiovascular Institute of the South, the highest quality cardiovascular care available. Barker Honda, the Barker family tradition of quality. And let's listen in on our last segment as Reggie Dupre wraps it up on his report to the CPRA.
Some of the levee improvements we've done. Lower Dularge area is not part of Arganza, but we have adopted it, and we are doing improvements in Lower Dularge on the 13-mile ring levee to keep that community dry and keep it in the system. One day, I hope that we will have a post-authorization alignment change of Arganza adopting Lower Dularge. So in the meantime, we are spending non-federal dollars and not getting credit for it on trying to bring these levees up to 12 feet right now on the east side and 9 feet on the west side of the lower part of this ridge. Our first goal when I first got to the levee district was to try to build the 35 miles of Arganza between the 5 Bayou communities of Terrebonne Parish, between Bayou Dularge and Pontchartrain. We met that goal in about 2018 and 19. Now we've done some other levees on the perimeter edge. We're going back to basics, and we're going on a second lift of the bottom of this system. So we have projects now to raise the lower part of Arganza to as much as 15 feet. Oh, excuse me. This one's also, I see a picture of Lower Dularge East, which we're raising to 12. The next project is actually Arganza to Gulf Reach E. You can see the water control structure. Arganza is the largest leaky levee or open levee system, I think, in the United States, where you can see one of the environmental structures here going through a parish road. So this levee was just recently raised from originally 12 feet. It settled to about 10 and a half. Now it's at 15 feet because Ida scared the hell out of us. Had Ida came 20 miles further to the west, we would have had serious problems in overtopping. This is just some more levees that we're raising to 15 feet along the southern part of the system under construction at this time. Reach H1 at 15 feet. H2, H3, FEMA paid to repair it. This was damaged from Ida. We brought it to 13 feet, and now we have a design going to 15 feet. This is one of our next priorities. Lower Reach I was just awarded. Reason it's 14 and not 15, that's the widest we can go with the existing footprint and keep the factor of safety at 1.3 to 1. Reach J3 in Lower Pontchartrain was recently complete to 15 feet. This is near the parish line at the Pontchartrain floodgate. And this is Lafourche Parish, Reach K, which we're raising to 11 feet because that's the most we can go in the existing permanent footprint. And the middle section of Reach K, which is right here, the blue, all the 3 levee districts and the 2 parish governments have joined together to fund the rehabilitation of the middle section of K. So these 2 guys with me, their boards have agreed to each put up some dollars, and so has the 2 local parish governments. Our next priority after that is going to be the green area, or upper K, while we finish Reach L, which ties us into the South Lafourche levee district system. What you see in here on the right side, this is a pipeline corridor. We have flexi floats there. We will be going to bid on the final section of Reach L, where we will be building a braced flood wall and a Wasky bridge crossing the pipelines because we can't build any levees over the pipeline. So the levee will be finished to a plus 12 in about 2 months, and we will be going to bid during that time frame with the final section of it. This is some of it. So never 15 years ago I would have dreamed that we would have the federal government would be coming up with nearly $500 million of construction dollars. That has happened. All of these projects are either in design. The first federal project has been complete at the Humboldt Canal preload. All these other projects are in design, and they just this week opened bids on Reach A that came in at half the engineering estimate. $7 million and some change at the apparent low bid, as opposed to $14 million engineering estimate. Good job, Lacey. and all these others are in design. This is the final slide for me. This is a summary of everything we've done in the last, 15 years or so. You can see total state and local investment is $1.2 billion. So you have the state has come up with about $300 million directly. The citizens of this area have funded about $300 million through sale taxes and bonding out that money and refinancing it and any other rocks we could find money under. Then the $400 million lock. Then the parish government has done some improvements around this area, like improving the parish drainage levees. When Chairman Dove was the parish president, converting some of the 2 old floodgates to locks, building pump stations. So that whole effort on the parish side, a conservative effort figure would be $200 million. So that's $1.2 billion. And right now, to date, Congress has appropriated $468 million to the Corps of Engineers from Morganza to the Gulf. And the request and the capacity issued for the next fiscal year is $93 million. That's $1.76 billion. And so we now have 80 miles of levee, 14 navigable floodgates, 2 navigable non-federal lock complexes, big HNC lock complex under construction, and 11 environmental structures. We just end with this on the HNC lock. Normally, these large federal projects, the federal government builds it and the non-federal partners maintain and operate it. This lock is backwards. The non-federal partners, CPRA and Terrebonne Levee District is building it, and then according to federal law in the 2014 WRDA bill, the Corps will operate and maintain it. So this is a thing, I don't think this has ever happened before in this country where the non-federal partners built a major component part for the federal partners to operate.
And of course, we'll have more on Reggie Dupre, honored at the CPRA for his involvement in the community and as a senator, as a representative. He's done just about everything. Council member and the executive director of the Terrebonne Parish Levee District. Congratulations, Reggie. Enjoy your retirement. We'll be right back.
Since 1954, Terrebonne General has been a beacon of health and hope in our community. As we mark 7 decades of dedication to your well-being, Terrebonne General Health System remains committed to advancing healthcare, improving lives, and expanding our services to meet your evolving needs. In celebrating our past, we look forward to a future filled with promise and progress. Your health is our legacy. To discover more, visit tghealthsystem.com.